When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. If something's important enough, you should try, even if the probable outcome is failure. The value of beauty and inspiration is very much underrated, no question. But I want to be clear, I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. What makes innovative thinking happen? I think it's really a mindset. You have to decide. To make an embarrassing admission, I like video games. That's what got me into software engineering when I was a kid. I wanted to make money so I could buy a better computer to play better video games. Nothing like saving the world. A company is a group of organized to create product or service, and it is only as good as its people and how excited they are about creating. I do want to recognize a ton of super talented people. I just happen to be the face of the companies. I'm actually not read many books on time management. I would just question things. It would infuriate my parents that I wouldn't just believe them when they said something because I'd ask them why, and then I consider whether that response made sense given everything else I knew. I really do encourage other manufacturers to bring electric cars to market. It's a good thing, and they need to bring it to market and keep iterating and improving and make better and better electric cars, and that's what's going to result in humanity achieving a sustainable transport future. I wish it was growing faster than it is. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. The first step is to establish that something is possible, then probably it will occur. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, "Nah, what's wrong with a horse?" That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. My biggest mistake is probably weighing too much on someone's talent and not someone's personality. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. I wouldn't say I have a lack of fear. In fact, I'd like my fear emotion to be less because it is very distracted and fries my nervous system. I say something, and then it usually happens. Maybe not on schedule, but it usually happens. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. I think that's the single best piece of advice. Constantly think about how you could be doing things better and questioning yourself. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is disaster. Starting a business is not for everyone. Starting a business, I'd say, number one is have a high pain threshold. I don't spend my time pontificating about high concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. People should pursue what they are passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. As much as possible, avoid hiring MBA programs. Don't teach people how to create companies. We can't have, willy-nilly proliferation of fake news. That's crazy. You can't have more types of fake news than real news. That's allowing public deception to go unchecked. That's crazy. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have all the ingredients in the right proportion. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. You have all the ingredients in the right proportion. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. It's very important to like the people you work with, otherwise life and your job is going to be quite miserable. Brand is just the perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. I'm interested in things that change the world or that affect the future, and wondrous new technology where you see it, and you're like, wow, how did that even happen? How is that possible? If you go back a few hundred years, what we take for granted today would seem like magic. Being able to talk to people over long distances, to transmit images, flying, accessing vast amounts of data like an oracle. These are all things that would have been considered magic a few hundred years ago. There are really two things that have to occur in order for new technology to be affordable to the mass market. One is you need economies of scale. The other is you need to iterate on the design. You need to go through a few versions. When somebody has a breakthrough innovation, it is rarely one little thing. Very rarely is it one little thing. It's usually a whole bunch of things that collectively amount to a huge innovation. I do think there is a lot of potential if you have a compelling product, and people are willing to pay a premium for that. I think that is what Apple has shown. You can buy a much cheaper cell phone or laptop, but Apple's product is so much better than the alternative, and people are willing to pay that premium. It is a mistake to hire huge numbers of people to get a complicated job. Done numbers will never compensate for talent, and getting the right answer to people who don't know something or know better than one will tend to slow down progress and will make the task incredibly expensive. I think the best way to attract venture capital is to try and come up with a demonstration of whatever product or service it is, and ideally take that as far as you can. Just see if you can sell that to real customers and start generating some momentum. The further along you get with that, the more likely you are to get funding. I don't believe in process. In fact, when I interview a potential employee and he or she says that it's all about the process, I see that as a bad sign. The problem is that a lot of big companies, process becomes a substitute for thinking. You're encouraged to behave like a little gear in a complex machine. Frankly, it allows you to keep people who aren't that smart, who aren't that creative. Work like hell, I mean you just have to put in 80 to 100 hours every week. This improves the odds of success. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that you will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve. If something has to be designed and invented and you have to figure out how to ensure that value of the thing you create is greater than the cost of the inputs, then that is probably my core skill. I always have optimism, but I'm realistic. It was not with the expectation of great success that I started Tesla or SpaceX. It's just that I thought they were important enough to do anyway. We have collected these quotes for Elon Musk that show us all the thoughts inside the mind of a businessman and investor by listening to these quotes. Thank you for watching this video. Don't miss out the next video. Please subscribe to our channel and clicking the bell icon.